Good afternoon. My name is Greg Marston. I'm an American, and I have a disability. That's not why I came up here to talk to you today. I came to talk to you about my grandson. One thing that I'm really proud of is he and I share the same birth date, November 8th. Last November 8th, I was coming home from, had been at Charlottesville taking a candidates class, and I got the call that they were going to take my grandson from my daughter-in-law, who was only 27 weeks pregnant at the time. Needless to say, he was in the neonatal intensive care unit for a long time. And this is where I really have to thank our president and our members of Congress who stood up and did the right thing. And even though they've taken such a harsh criticism, unjustified criticism, my family would be in financial ruin today if not for Barack Hussein Obama. I will say that in front of anyone who wants to hear it, because I have a personal story that makes it very real, that people can understand what that act did and how it ties in to people with disabilities. Long story short, because of provisions in the ACA, my son was able to stay on my policy until he went to work for Amazon. Amazon has employer-provided insurance, and so he came off of Dad's policy. My daughter-in-law had never had insurance prior to the ACA. With some help, she had a policy that was, I think, about $90 a month for her. Well, again, with the employment situation change at Amazon, she's now the spouse of someone who has employer-provided health insurance, and so she came off of her policy, went on his. That was in August of last year, but there was this little thing hanging out where she had been to the doctor toward the end of July, and it was documented that she was indeed carrying a child, my grandson. Now, we know in the old days that would have been, my grandson would have been called a pre-existing condition. And you want to talk about being pro-life, and you call my grandson a pre-existing condition? That's not pro-life, that's pro-profit. The long story short is, my grandson is a $3 million Obamacare baby. He may not be worth $3 million to the people, the stockholders in the insurance company, but you know, we're not the ones to judge what the value of someone is, because we don't ever know what someone with a disability may do. Yeah, he's considered someone with a disability. So yeah, he and I share that in common too. Papa G and little Magnus, we both have a disability. We both have the same birthday. And I'm really big on birthdays because my two boys, my older son's birthday is January 15th. What's that? Okay. My other son is April 23rd, and see if anybody gets this one. It's the day Barbara Johns led the students out of the farm, out of the little tar shack in Farmville, said, "We won't go to school here anymore." So I kind of feel like this other young man, his birthday is going to be something very special too. I know the local paper did a story back in November of last year because it was Premature Awareness Month, and even Channel 12 came out to the hospital and did a story on that. There are so many instances of where this ACA has helped people like my family. And I know, that Mom and, Grandma and Papa G, we would have been the first ones to have taken all the financial loss. Nobody's going to let their kids suffer the best they can. But the truth is that if we had to have assumed that, it would have financially ruined my family, my children's family, and I would have not had money enough to get on the Amtrak to come up here and see you guys and be with you today. I understand what this is all about. But what I do understand also is there's a lot of people, particularly where I live, in SOVA, where we have more people that are uninsured, without health care, without the very basics that we take for granted because we've had them all our life. I grew up in a union household. I've never known what it's like not to have insurance, not one day of my life. I've been insured for 52 years now. There are some people who haven't had insurance for 52 seconds, but they get just as sick as I do. They have the same illnesses that my family has, but they go untreated. And at the end of the day, what's the real cost of that? You know, I know another instance, and this is something that really irritates me, and it's the reason why I'm running, because in my in my county where I live, if you're an inmate at the medium security prison there, you can get HVAC training. If you're a high school student, you can't. How backwards is that? And that's the same mentality that says that health care is not just an equal right, just a right. It shouldn't be, our health should never be for profit. No one should profit off of someone else's misfortune. When we have a society that feeds off of that, how do we stand up and say we're one nation under God? How do we say we're one nation under anything except a profit umbrella? I am running against my opponent because even though we are in the midst of the largest area, area-wise, of people without insurance and people living in critical poverty, time and time again, he has refused to expand Medicaid. He has refused to raise the minimum wage. He has refused to do anything that helped working people. But when you can't get behind Medicaid expansion, something that's already paid for, something that we are taking that money and insuring people in other states, and at the same time you're taking my tax money, your tax money out of the general fund to shore up these hospitals in rural areas that, by the way, don't have maternity care anymore, because that's one of the things that you have to get rid of first. Isn't that right, Delegate Tyler? So, you know, you're having people, suppose my grandson, again, without good insurance, my daughter-in-law and grandson both would have died, because there would have been no doctor to tell her she needed to get to the hospital in time. And they both would have, you know, I wouldn't have this great story to tell you about how, you know, the ACA really has benefited a family that otherwise would just have been in financial ruin.